Nathan Roy mora perto de Raleigh, Carolina do Norte.
All boy. Running, playing, imitating, laughing, giggling, playing with the dog, wrestling with the dog, riding the dog.
They say you can either die on the field or die in the bleachers. And he'll always be on the field. That's Nathan. He's always going to jump in and take part.
E os pais de Nathan queriam lhe dar bom começo.
Nathan had a lot of experiences with museums and traveling and a lot of opportunities that made him very worldly. His communication skills were far ahead of the other children.
Ele era o líder entre os amigos e bom atleta.
Okay, so we'll get Ryan to kick it into us. We block
Nathan adorava ler. Os pais tinham certeza de que na escola ele brilharia.
Yeah. Put the plan in it.
Foi quando a professora primária ligou.
The first week of school, he didn't know the alphabet. His phonics just wasn't there, and while I worked with him, and worked with him, and worked with him, right. He couldn't hear the sounds.
Nathan, o menino que dizia adorar livros, não sabia ler. Os pais dele não conseguiam acreditar.
How could this be? How can we not do basics if we can do overachievement kind of things? And I think it's probably the hardest thing any parent can hear is that your child's not average, when of course you think that they're maybe even exceptional.
Yeah, go ahead. Get out in the field.
Mas lá no fundo, Nathan sabia que algo estava errado.
It's just hard. You just keep trying and trying and trying, and you get tired doing it.
Nathan was already aware that he was not reading on the same level that his peers were. He was very concerned with being judged or being held to the same standards that his peers are.
Até que a escola testou Nathan. O resultado foi choque.
We were profoundly deficient. We were like below D's. And it was very hard to understand how he could express himself and be so articulate and yet score so low on the test. And I guess I sort of took it as a grain of salt, because here was a highly functional child who couldn't possibly be. It had to be, he was tired that day. They tested him in an uncomfortable area. There was a stranger that came in and tested him and he didn't know. Just all these things that could contribute to the low scores.
But they sound like they could be excuses as well.
Well, I'm the mom. It wasn't what I wanted to hear.
Mas foi toque de despertar. Louis decidiu observar de perto.
I would sit beside him on the couch and he would be reading up a storm. And I stopped and I looked at him. And his eyes were not in the book, but into this next room. He had memorized the entire book.
Foi uma revelação alarmante. O menino conseguia camuflar a deficiência fazendo uso de uma força inata, memorização. Agora, os pais sabiam que tinham verdadeiro problema e reagiram como a maioria dos pais, com refreamento. Tentariam controlar o problema de Nathan, procurando o remédio mais próximo. Neste caso, aceitaram a receita da escola. Nathan deveria repetir a primeira série.
To his ego, it was very, very difficult. There were several times when we would see people out and they'd say, Nathan, how old are you? What grade are you in? And he would say, I'm in second grade, when he knew he was still in first.
Nathan fez a primeira série pela segunda vez e seus pais contrataram professor particular que o preparasse para a segunda.
2 weeks before school started, Nathan knew what he needed to know according to the tutor. Did great. Knew 300 sight words, everything he needed to do to start second grade. 9 weeks into second grade, my child can't read. My child can't do single and double digit math, addition and subtraction. I'm like, how did he forget this in 9 weeks?
Nathan,
Na verdade, Nathan não estava aprendendo. Ele contava com sua principal habilidade, a memorização, para fazer os trabalhos conhecidos da primeira série e os das primeiras semanas da segunda série. Quando se deparou com matéria nova, não conseguiu acompanhar. Os pais de Nathan viram que conter o problema não bastaria. Na Universidade da Carolina do Norte trabalha um dos maiores especialistas no assunto, o professor de pediatria Mel Levin. O Dr. Levin fundou a All Kinds of Minds, todo tipo de mente, para pesquisar como a conexão do cérebro afeta a capacidade de aprendizado.
Open your mouth and stick your tongue out. Try to stay like that till I tell you to stop for 15
Levin
seconds.
acredita que um simples teste para DDA ou dislexia não basta, pois rotula desnecessariamente as crianças.
We're gonna all go get some coffee. You just stay like that for We're gonna play catch with this little squash ball.
Seu complexo teste foi criado para identificar fraquezas neurológicas bastante específicas, além de pontos fortes.
That was excellent. I'm gonna show you some patterns with my fingers.
Em 33 tarefas diferentes, Levin procura pistas de como o cérebro de Nathan está conectado.
Jar.
Com o tempo, o Dr. Levin se concentra nas fraquezas de
I almost
Nathan.
couldn't keep up with you. And then I'd say 3. Okay. Now I have a really interesting game. It's a rhyming game. So I'll give you a word. Hot.
Hate.
Mm-hmm. Does that rhyme with hot? Mm-hmm. Okay, what else?
A dificuldade de Nathan com a rima indica problema com a consciência fonêmica.
Does mate rhyme with hot? How about God?
É uma capacidade inata de distinguir sons diferentes que juntos criam palavras.
In soup, phonemic awareness is just this sensitivity that most kids have, that you can take a word like dog and break it into 3 sounds. D, g is dog. Doesn't that sound simple? It's almost not worth saying it sounds so simple, and it is completely elusive to a group of kids who are going to go on and have big league problems learning to read.
Buffy kissed me over Buffy.
What do you do first? He
Kissed.
if it was kissing.
Caught.
If we watch Nathan, you'll see he's putting so much energy into pulling the print off the page, literally glued to the print, or guessing, that it takes too much time for him to figure out how what he just read, in fact, relates to what he already knows, so his comprehension is nil. These early difficulties portend not only difficulties in writing, difficulties in understanding content,
I can.
but critical self-esteem issues that fall much more rapidly than we ever thought. What's surprising to mom and dad and teachers who don't understand this is that he'll carry on a brilliant conversation with you all day long.
I think that's the reason they ran away.
Yeah, to get work.
So you won't see it in oral language, and in fact, the youngsters will impress you many times because they are very articulate, they are very erudite, and it's only when they're confronted with the written language that it will begin to show up.
Remember, they were chasing.
Chase.
Wait,
Chase.
let's cover this up a minute. What happened after?
By the end of the first grade, we can watch youngsters like Nathan begin to avoid and escape reading. And many kids will actually begin to look like they have attentional difficulties because of that. They'll respond to the teacher's questions impulsively, or they'll be distracted easily, or they'll come off the task. Not because they have attentional difficulties per se, but because they're trying to get away from something extremely painful.
Os pais de Nathan sentiram que tinham uma resposta. Uma pequenina sutileza na conexão mental complicou sua capacidade de aprender. O problema dele, consciência fonêmica, ainda complica o processo de aprendizagem.
He stick. Yes, please. spit some slime out to bind.
Our research shows us that if we don't get to the kids by about 9 years of age with strong, efficient strategies to help them understand sound structure, the probability that they will learn to read is very minimal.
Para ajudar, a escola quer colocá-lo na sala de apoio, onde ele estudará com crianças de todas as idades e capacidades, com problemas sutis como o dele e até mais graves, como o autismo. Sua mãe, Louise, teme que Nathan, que tem grande capacidade de se socializar, possa se sentir estigmatizado e isolado em uma sala de apoio.
The scholarly part of me knows that these are intelligent people and that the evaluations they made are appropriate. The mom part of me thinks it stinks. They're asking me my input, what do I want done? Do you put your kid in a classroom where you know he's going to fail? Does he have a chance to succeed in this other system?
Louis acaba decidindo que não tem escolha melhor. Os amigos de Nathan seguem um rumo e Nathan outro.
Something the horse will eat, Nathan.
Hay?
Hey, May. He had great gains. He advanced almost 3 levels in reading. He's performing on grade level with his math.
Ray.
R-A-Y.
Good.
He's secure here. He's doing well. I couldn't be happier with what he's achieved.
Do you have anything harder?
This is an example of something he wrote during journal time after we got our
Com a proximidade do inverno, há sinais de fracassos familiares.
He looks big when he is standing up. He also reminds me of Jeff Gordon running around the cage. Just to see what kind of errors he makes.
A mãe de Nathan aprende que o lento processo do filho envolverá pequenos ganhos e muitos reveses.
He still has not mastered short vowels. He's kind of reached a plateau, and it's going to take that extra effort and that extra thinking to go to the next level. And that's kind of what I wrote in my comment.
Guiadas pelo aconselhamento de especialistas, as professoras de Nathan lidam com seu problema de leitura e escrita, concentrando-se no método de aprendizado dele.
Our O-U-T-R.
Elas esperam empregar seu mecanismo e sua potente memória no ataque à sua fraqueza.
O-U-R.
Elas o treinam com sons intensivos e repetitivos na escola e em casa.
All right, listen to it 2 more times and record it 1 more.
I pray every night that Nathan can be the best he can be, and that one day the light bulb's going to come on and things will be easy for him. There are days when you think, will it ever happen? But I don't allow myself to think that it won't.
Fist, fits, fish.
Um ano se passou e Nathan continua na sala de apoio.
The biggest improvement is he knows sounds now. He knows how to put sounds together into words. He can manipulate sounds in words. Say it fast, get ready.
Fist.
Nathan's learning problems will never go away. He will learn ways to compensate, which he is beginning to do at this point. He has a lot of support in his family, and his family will make sure that he gets the right help he needs.
Shad cannot.
O maior desafio de Nathan veio no fim da 4ª série, quando teve de fazer uma prova obrigatória para passar para a 5ª série.
The success of the test is measured in 1, 2, 3, and 4, with 3 and 4 being acceptable scores. You're told no one ever makes a 4, that if you were able to achieve a 4 on this end of year writing a test, it would be equivalent to a high school performance.
Sua mãe estava extremamente preocupada, mas conseguiu obter privilégios para ele. Ele ditaria as respostas em vez de escrevê-las. Agora, ela tem que esperar os resultados.
The day his test scores came back, Mrs. Marshall called me, and she said, "You need to sit down. I need to tell you about Nathan's scores." So immediately my heart dropped, thinking, oh God, this is not good. And she just starts giggling, and she said, "Nathan has done really well." She said Nathan scored a 4.0 on his end-of-the-year writing test.
Nathan foi entre apenas 4 alunos na escola toda a obter a nota máxima. Ele provou que podia usar seus pontos fortes para superar as fraquezas.
I've learned that in some parts of your life that you want to quit when things are difficult, but some way or another, you'll get over that obstacle, even if it takes you slow like the tortoise, and other people are the hare and they finish, but slowly you'll get there.
His ability to verbalize himself, his keen memory, his attention to detail scored him the highest score. That's success. Nathan's in 5th grade this year.
Smith, 11 anos, é criativa e brilhante, às vezes um pouco irritante para os pais.
Oh, Lord, she dawdles. Mike describes her as the only person he knows who can be taking a shower and forget what she's doing. And so she'll be in the midst of whatever she's supposed to be doing, and she's a million miles away.
Lauren! Time to get up, hon.
The mind just wanders constantly.
Lauren, your waffles are almost ready.
I just pretty much goof off the entire morning, make everything take time that didn't need to take time.
Come on, what are you doing at school today? I don't know.
Let's say I need to do homework, I draw a picture, or I dust my desk with paintbrushes, anything I could do besides homework I'd do.
I went back and reread her report cards to see how her teacher saw her. It was things like doesn't complete her work, talks out of turn, or carries on conversations with her neighbor.
I was thinking there's a problem with me, and I was doing things wrong because that was what people were telling me at school, that I was dumb and I couldn't do anything correctly. And
Lauren, where's your lunchbox?
Thursday? I sent it there. I'm gonna go check the car, okay? I was unpopular and I was quite lonely. Not many friends. People, they say that they want to be my friends, but they sure don't act like it.
Houve episódio especialmente doloroso na primeira série.
There was a little girl who made her a promise. Lauren would be taken to Disney World if Lauren did all the things that this little girl told her she had to do.
O trato incluía nunca mais brincar com outras crianças. Durante toda a primeira série, Lauren o manteve.
I found out she took a couple of friends to Disney World and I wasn't invited. And it really made me feel bad.
What's it like to have no real friends?
Not fun at all. It's quite bad and it's no fun because if you don't have any friends, then you can't really do much in life, and you start thinking, what's the point in life if you don't have many friends? I didn't get there yet, but thank goodness.
O incrível é que as dificuldades sociais de Lauren foram uma pista vital da natureza de seus problemas de aprendizagem.
It's a kind of reading problem. Just as you may not be able to read a sentence and read it the way other kids do, you may not be able to read a social scene. You may not be able to see that child is talking to that child, so I shouldn't interrupt. You may simply see that child and say, oh, I want to tell that child something because I like that person. And you may barge right into the conversation. What's that?
That's the exact same thing except in a big...
Quando o Dr. Levine visitou Lauren, não se surpreendeu com a desorganização dela.
This is generally the way you organize your notebook. This is... Now, I'm interested in...
better than my other notebook.
It is? This is one of your best notebooks.
O caderno de Lauren é um misto de lixo desnecessário e poesia original.
I would look at a poem and it was wonderful, creative, just wonderful, perceptive poem reflecting the sensitivity and freedom of her thinking. And then we'd turn to another page and there'd be a crumpled up piece of paper there. And this is, how do we classify this?
Trash.
Trash, okay. She wasn't able to differentiate between trash and masterpieces.
Trash.
Right alongside of all of these traits is a little girl who's incredibly creative, fanciful, and eccentric. The question is, how do we help her get her act together without changing her very much?
A nova linha de pensamento tem uma resposta que surpreende pela simplicidade. Lauren precisa de um tipo de treinador de concentração.
Someone who, just like a football coach, coaches you to do this, do that. Someone to say, those pieces of paper, that's trash, those pieces of paper, that's notes, let's separate those two, let's reorganize this, and literally coach her academically, also socially. That group of friends, when you go into that group, don't walk in talking. First go in, listen, make eye contact, and then bring up what you have to say. So you can coach socially as well as you coach academically and coach organizationally.
You're obviously bright, you're very capable, you're really good with your
Mas
sports.
aprender a se concentrar é só parte da resposta. O Dr. Skip Baker afirma que antes que Lauren consiga aprender, uma falha na química de seu cérebro deve ser tratada.
What I'd like to do is to go over with you the first two TOVAs that we did.
Ele explica como funciona a química cerebral.
Remember, it's only the front part of the brain, right above the eyes, that has to do with your concentration. It's not the whole brain.
Uma substância chamada dopamina estimula os nervos que sustentam a atenção.
Biologically now, that people are built with differences in the way that dopamine transmission works. Either you don't have enough, you have different receptors over here that aren't working very well, that your brain is
O
built.
Dr. Baker acredita que no cérebro de Lauren, o transporte da dopamina não funciona bem. Por isso, sua concentração acaba mais depressa.
And there are nerve pathways that go right to that part of the brain.
Ele acha que a dopamina pode ser recarregada e a concentração de Lauren restaurada se ela tomar uma medicação estimulante, como o Ritalin.
My suspicion is, on the basis of experience, I think it's going to turn her around and make things so much easier for her.
This is the TOVA test that we did with the single dose of Ritalin. There was almost a 2 standard deviation jump in auditory processing in association with the Ritalin. That's a dramatic difference.
A recomendação envolveu a família em uma polêmica nacional. A preocupação com uma geração de crianças supermedicadas. Mike, o pai de Lauren, acha que deve haver outras opções.
It's not a have to difference.
Are the same side effects noticed when you use caffeine versus Ritalin?
Yeah, they absolutely are.
Identical.
Yeah, absolutely are.
Being a parent, any foreign substance like a drug scares the hell out of me. Taking it as an adult, I wouldn't see an issue, but something with my baby girl, no, even though I've read about it and I understand what it's supposed to do, and Dr. Baker has gone through what the benefits are, and he's described basically no side effects. Still, to me, it's somewhat of an unknown, and maybe it's just my ignorance, but it's somewhat terrifying for me.
Lauren também está preocupada com o efeito dos medicamentos.
I don't want to be normal.
What?
I want to be normal, just, I want to be original also.
Okay.
Because that's how Einstein was.
Really?
He wasn't too good in school,
Right.
but he turned out to meet Einstein.
Right.
Wonderful person.
Maybe some people who grow up and have very original ideas.
A nova onda de especialistas em aprendizagem também se preocupa com a prescrição exagerada de remédios como o Ritalin. O problema é que esses medicamentos são vistos erradamente como cura para tudo, não como uma ferramenta.
Is it a cure? Absolutely not. But you learn compensatory strategies, habits, while you're taking the medication that will carry over to when you're not taking the medication. So by allowing you to focus better, it allows you to better learn these strategies that we're trying to teach them. I mean, that just makes intuitive sense. You know, I mean, if you turn on the lights in the room, you can learn better than trying to learn in the dark.
Much better. Yeah.
Os pais de Lauren acham que encontraram uma resposta para a mente confusa da filha. Sua distração crônica é causada pela química cerebral irregular, mas parte da solução proposta ainda os deixa inseguros. Eles decidiram evitar a medicação e tentar uma nova escola, onde talvez novos amigos e um histórico limpo possam bastar para ajudar com o problema.
I feel like the new school is a better opportunity even without the Ritalin.
What happened to the Spanish?
Todos esperam que Lauren tenha um novo começo.
Second page, you don't need to look at. What is la boca? It was the same thing as it was last week. Open your mouth. There you go.
Nas primeiras semanas de aula, os pais de Lauren acham que tomaram a decisão certa.
This is the beginning of the 4th week of school, and she seems certainly to have made a number of friends.
She's extremely excited about what she's doing and the environment she's in and the new friends she has. So she's on a real high.
Skills.
Colocar Lauren em um novo ambiente ajudou por um tempo. O novo ambiente acabou agindo como um estimulante substituto, mas o estímulo acabou. Lauren perdeu a concentração e a organização, como antes. A verdade veio à tona em uma reunião entre Lauren, seus pais e os professores da nova escola.
Introduce your folks to what we do in our writing class. So can you explain to them how we go about constructing writing?
Reading journal. I'm usually too stuck in the books to remember to do the journal. It's true. And the history project, if I just had information, I would be with the rest of the class, but I just need to get that information. So we should probably go to a library soon.
When's it due?
Some of the drafts were already due.
So you're past due at this point?
Yeah.
Including the fact that I've asked you numerous times, so many times I can't even count about this project, because other kids have talked about it. Why would you tell me that this is getting done when it's not?
It was.
So what, you thought I just wouldn't know about it?
Well, actually, in the class stuff, I was getting stuff done in class.
Sounds weak. You know, you could just see the look come over her face of, oh gosh, I'm caught now, because mom's here and the teacher's here, so she couldn't tell me one story and tell the teacher a different story anymore.
So out of the three, from the balcony, the second floor, and the slide, which one do you think is going to have?
Agora, os pais de Lauren sabem que suas dificuldades acadêmicas ainda existem e que os problemas sociais jamais desapareceram.
Would you describe yourself as popular now?
Not exactly, because I have lots of friends, but that doesn't mean that I'm popular.
There are kids that tend to pick on her, and quite a few actually, that will tease her because she gets emotional real easy. So some kids are aware of that.
She doesn't seem to have the social skills to give and take. She can be kind of very frustrated when someone doesn't respond to her in the way that she expects, and then she reacts to that and can be volatile right back.
What the heck? I was there!
As far on the social ladder, I would say the lower end.
Na verdade, Lauren só fez uma amiga mais próxima, Verônica.
Really good friend. Someone I can count on all the time, no matter what, even if it means like she might lose a friend she'd stayed up for me.
Mas essa amizade está prestes a terminar.
Her very best friend is not returning to the school, and I haven't had the heart to tell her.
And how would your life be if you didn't have Veronica in it?
My life would not be too wonderful without a friend like Veronica.
So I expect tears, and I don't blame her. I'll probably cry too.
You guys about to go jump rope?
And you know, children will tell you over and over again that the real pressure that they experience in school is social pressure, not academic pressure. That when you come home at night feeling really terrible, more often than not, it's a social setback, not an academic setback. And I think Lauren is suffering. Lauren is wounded because she doesn't quite have the social skills.
You're going to know whether it's making a difference or not and what kind of a difference it's making.
A experiência em um novo ambiente foi uma grave frustração. Portanto, a família de Lauren reavaliou a questão da medicação. O pai dela continua relutante.
Gail looks at it as an addictive drug, and I just say that as the pop culture. Let's take care of all the kids with Ritalin, and I'm concerned that this condition is not something that goes away when she becomes 18 or 28.
O Dr. Baker lembra aos pais que um remédio como o Ritalin é apenas uma ferramenta para a concentração dela. É como acender as luzes de uma sala. O resto do trabalho será por conta dela. Sem a medicação, o doutor avisa que Lauren pode encontrar outros meios de acender as luzes sozinha.
The best you could hope for is she's going to smoke tobacco, as opposed, that's probably the best, as opposed to pot, alcohol, cocaine, every single illegal drug that people use except for hallucinogens raises the dopamine levels in the frontal lobes. That's what it does. It makes those part of the brain fire better. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean with your family environment and everything else that would happen, but we do know if you're deficient in these things that you're at greater risk than if you're not.
Isso chamou a atenção de Mike Smith. Finalmente, ele está pronto para dar este passo.
I'm not adverse to trying something, and I'd also like to
Um ano mais tarde, Lauren está na 8ª série. Ela usa um relógio e carrega uma agenda para ajudá-la a se manter organizada. Os adultos de seu convívio aprenderam novas formas de manter sua concentração. Lauren e seu médico decidiram por uma droga de liberação gradual.
So we tried it, and she didn't grow horns or anything. So we thought, well, let's keep the course. Let's see what kind of trend she has in terms of homework and being a social kid and things like that.
Lauren, that's your ball, go!
And it just turned out okay. I wish we had done it sooner now.
Within a period of about 1 month, it became very apparent that their daughter was functioning totally differently. She started to improve getting homework done. She started better listening. Within a period of about 6 weeks, we started to see some social changes. She started interacting better. She was saying she wasn't being left out as much. She was making more friends. Her grades started to go up.
Oh, I like those. The and buns. Those are so cute. Yeah, I know.
When I take the medicine, I just automatically think before I do something. I guess it just makes me think faster. I don't know. Just, it's not like it really changes me. It just like tunes me up a little.
It's something $25 for like a skirt. I know. My friend Brooke would like this.
I'm not super popular, but I'm not like not popular. My friends are really great. They're nice and kind to everyone. They're really, really nice.
I know.
The whole family's stress over her struggles has decreased dramatically because they didn't know what to do and how to help her. This isn't just the person who starts to do well, but it's the whole family that starts to do better when they don't worry so much.
90% of the time I can tell if she's forgotten to take her medication. It's just a much smoother life together when she's taking her medications. And she feels better because she's a happier person. You can see it in her face when she's taking the medication.
I used some and was like, I'll get it back to you, but that's all right. I believe in my mom. Interesting. I seriously need to go in this store and go shopping. Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, pretty.
Sarah Lee Harris, de 11 anos, sempre teve muitos amigos.
Some of my friends are Amber, Rashida, Shayna, Akima, Kimmy.
Sarah Lee é a caçula de 4 irmãos. Sua mãe, Hope, tem um objetivo simples para os filhos: educação sólida e de qualidade.
My oldest daughter, when she graduated from high school, she went to Queensborough College. My son graduated from high school. The twins graduate this year. I graduated from high school and went to college and business school. So, it's important to get ahead in life.
Sarah Lee manteve a tradição familiar, frequentando a Children's Storefront School, no Harlem, onde foi aluna de destaque. Para todos que conhecem Sarah Lee, ela é uma líder nata, altamente motivada e altamente verbal.
She can really hold a conversation. She will talk to you and say, all right, Stanley, just a minute, just take a break for a minute. Go get you something to drink or get a fruit or something, just to hush her up for just a few minutes.
Now, Brian, why you ain't been in the store, right? For a long time. Told you. Feeling it.
Mas na quarta série, algo mudou.
She got real shy in history. She wouldn't participate in classroom activities, in history class. She wouldn't come with the answers. She would do her homework, but it would take her a little longer. So she got tired of being slower in the work, and she kept saying, Mom, something is not right.
Like, I couldn't understand. My comprehension wasn't well, and my vocabulary wasn't well, and my reading skills wasn't well.
Seus professores também notaram uma enigmática diferença na personalidade de Sarah Lee na sala de aula e fora dela.
By nature, she's very, energetic and outgoing and social. But in class, a lot of times it's the opposite.
She'll listen, and she's not a behavior issue, and she'll sort of look at you, focus right at you. But I always wonder, how much, she's really absorbing.
Para saber por que Sarah Lee se tornou calada em sala de aula, a professora de apoio da escola a levou para ver a fonoaudióloga Donna Orloff.
I'm going to read a sentence to you, and
Orloff começa testando a capacidade linguística básica de Sarah Lee.
And you can start up here at A.
Lion, horse, mouse.
She has very good language for single words. She knows a lot of labels, a lot of nouns. And she uses them, and she understands them. But there were other words that were associated, not the direct label, but associated with the pictures, and that posed difficulty for her. Perfect. Point 2, swine. So, we get to swine. She had no idea what swine is. She's heard it. She's heard it from reading Charlotte's Web. But she doesn't have that rich storage system that enables her to tap the vocabulary and to retrieve the words that she needs.
Our brains are basically a very complex storage and retrieval system where every piece of information that comes into you, you put it someplace so that you can refer to it later on. If you see a St. Bernard walking down the street, your retrieval system goes to your storage system, pulls out all of the note cards that it has on dogs, go through it till it finds St. Bernard and says, oh, look, there's a St. Bernard. All this happens in a millisecond. And then you take that card and put it back where it belongs so when you need it next time, you can find it.
Leather.
The problem with these kids is that the storage and retrieval systems are very complicated and generally very confused.
Stitches.
So they will go and take the card out and then put it back in the wrong place.
Esta capacidade de fazer conexões mentais, de passar de um arquivo para outro, também afeta o pensamento abstrato das crianças.
A student talking about a trip says, it's still up in the air.
Probably he's talking about a trip going around the world.
This is the child who only sees The picture of the pig is the pig. The picture of the train is the train. If it's up in the air, he's got to be on an airplane. Language is never that one-to-one, rigid, concrete correlation. It's much richer and much more demanding, particularly when you get to 4th grade. That's when it starts.
I'm not surprised in Sarah Lee's case that things began to unravel at 3rd and 4th grade. If Sarah Lee is a bright child, she was probably able to fake her way through 1st and 2nd grade. You can fake your way through.
That's it?
You listen to your friends talk about the story they've read, and then you use those answers when the teacher asks you the questions.
Do you swear by Zeus?
But around 3rd or 4th grade is when you begin to deal with expressive language problems. In other words, the language is there,
I don't know it.
but it's almost locked away. The language is inside the brain. They have an inner language. They know what they want to say, and they just can't express it. They can't get the words out.
Make a paragraph that matches the picture.
Like sometimes when I'm in a class and my teacher, she asks us, like, what's the answer? And I raise my hand and I'll know the answer, but then when I say it, it won't come out the way I was thinking of it.
What about the way Homer used the gun in that episode? What do you think that they were trying to say, Sarah Lee?
He used the gun to shoot places instead of shooting people.
Okay, my question.
When you think about it, you're thinking in your head, I didn't want to say that.
Did he use it for what it was really intended for?
Sometimes it's a little embarrassing because people, they'll laugh and mumble under their breath, that's the wrong answer. That's embarrassing.
You are not a criminal before you get a gun.
Sarah Lee dominava a linguagem de programas de TV, comerciais e do playground, mas ficava perdida ao se deparar com a linguagem mais dimensional encontrada nos livros e na sala de aula. Os especialistas chamam de deficiência na linguagem expressa. Ela entende bem, mas tem dificuldade de explicar o que sabe. A estratégia dos especialistas: tratamento de imersão total em linguagem.
She needs a lot of practice talking in complete sentences, talking on a more literate level of things, really talking about issues.
What was Clinton's position in the article that you took your notes
We want to build these muscles, these expressive language muscles, because one of the best ways to learn to talk right is to have plenty of practice. It's almost like working out for a sport, and she has to do that. She needs a verbal workout.
You need to be a risk taker. You need to try a new word. You need to make that leap. But you have to be comfortable. You have to be confident. You have to know you're in a safe place to do it. And someone's got to be there to help give you the ammunition to take that risk. But once you start taking it, and once you start succeeding, it just, the ripple effect is wonderful. There, it's very positive.
A receita para Sarah Lee é uma terapia de imersão, quase como aprender uma língua estrangeira. Haverá exercícios com cartões, conversação, muita leitura e vocabulário novo, repetidamente. Se ela conseguir se manter, espera-se que supere sua deficiência na linguagem.
What should you do if you find someone's wallet or purse in a store?
You should, if the person is not too far, you should run and give it to them, or you can.
Ano depois, o progresso de Sarah Lee dá esperança.
You can call it and let them know that you have their wallet.
I hope if I lose my wallet, you're the one who finds it. This past year has been a year of real growth for her. She's contributing more in classes now, and she's doing more reading.
So they can make sure.
And she's found ways to help herself.
Any bacteria or.
And that alone, it's like shooting baskets and to prepare for a basketball game. The more she does, the better she gets at it.
Sarah Lee teve uma melhora notável.
Well, here are her total reading scores. Last year, in the 7th grade, she made a dramatic leap. Her comprehension score went from 4th grade second month up to 7th grade, nearly a 3-year gain.
What's very distinct in her community is a division between blacks and whites, right? What specifically about the way that they speak? How does she feel about the way Mama speaks?
She feels embarrassed because, like, she's still using improper English.
She feels it's improper English. Great. What else? What other issues about races have come up?
I've definitely noticed a willingness in Sarah Lee to think beyond the first initial thought. She's starting to push herself beyond that, beyond cliches.
She compares how the schools and stamps are different from the schools.
She's highly intelligent. She's a good thinker. She's capable of thinking through ideas.
Talvez a melhor testemunha da melhora de Sarah Lee seja ela mesma. Lembram-se deste momento um ano antes?
He used the gun to shoot plays instead of shooting people.
Okay, my question is though,
I have matured a lot. I've participated in my classes. I've been behaving well. I've been doing my homework. My grades have been pulled up. I've been working very hard. And like I've been overcoming the mistakes that I did many years ago.
It's clearly beginning to happen for her, and I think this is going to be a wonderful year. She's a wonderful girl, and I think she will leave here and go on to high school and college, and I hope that whatever her wishes are, they'll be realized.
Nathan Suggs, de 10 anos, mora na cidade rural de Bear Creek, na Carolina do Norte, onde leva uma vida solitária. Um menino inteligente que adora ciências, mas não consegue progredir na escola. Desatento e obstinado, Nathan dá trabalho desde cedo.
Getting out of line and talking in class and
those sorts of things.
Kicking other kids, you know.
It's even
from kindergarten on. Mm-hmm. You know, there was signs of discipline problems.
Então, os pais de Nathan o fizeram passar por testes.
They came up with a diagnosis of ADD without hyperactivity. And so we knew that pencils rolling on the desk or dropping or anything like that would probably take him off task.
It's like a jigsaw puzzle. Some days I wake up and it's just like 2 or 3 pieces to put together, and other times it's like a 500 3D puzzle or something.
O Ritalin foi receitado, mas os pais de Nathan viram que não existia pílula mágica.
We went up to 10 milligrams. It helped for a little while, but we still had the problems with getting the assignments home.
Seus pais suspenderam o Ritalin, mas ficaram sem qualquer ajuda.
He would be real sad that he was not able to learn, that people didn't like him, that they were out to, ridicule him or make fun of him.
He got to where he hated everything as far as school. He didn't want to learn, didn't want to read, didn't want to write.
Didn't want to go.
He didn't want to go.
A lot of times when, he's not in a good mood and he's real irritable and, says stuff like, why I'm even here and stuff like that, I get real worried. I hope he doesn't get too drastic.
And when he said, I just shouldn't be alive, I said, this child does not have to go through this.
Os pais dele estavam desesperados. A escola pública não parecia funcionar. A escola particular seria cara demais. Então, sua mãe, Eddie, decidiu tentar o estudo em casa. Mas Eddie não estava preparada para a dificuldade de ensinar Nathan. Os exercícios mais básicos tornaram-se uma dificuldade para Nathan e um desafio para a mãe dele.
9 times 6 is 54.
Mm-hmm.
Do I put it under here?
Do you know what to do next?
You put it under here.
Okay, what do you put?
5, 4.
Mm-hmm. No.
5, 4.
You put
5 what?
Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay, I'm trying to remind you.
No início do verão, a frustração de Nathan tinha se tornado raiva. Ele chutava portas e batia no irmão.
So you're done with that part, but you have to come back. He loses control, and that part is what's frightening.
A família temia cada vez mais que a baixa autoestima de Nathan o levasse a fazer mal a si mesmo ou aos outros.
Sometimes I can't stop crying and like I'm just in my bed with my head down. I just get sad. A little while ago, like last year, I was like, I could just kill myself. I tried to run away. I just felt like no one really wanted me to be there.
A mãe de Nathan, desesperada para melhorar a autoestima do filho, começou a buscar ajuda fora de Bear Creek. A 1 hora da cidade fica o consultório do pediatra Mel Levine, especializado em descobrir os problemas de garotos como Nathan. Levine o testa para descobrir seus pontos fortes e fracos.
You know, for kids, success is like a vitamin, and it's a real vitamin deficiency to grow up success deprived. Let's just compare it to the original.
O teste mostra que ele domina as percepções visual e espacial.
Fantastic. What I would like you to do next is write the alphabet for me, from A to Z, and join all the letters together as if the whole alphabet was one long word. And I'm going to time you to see how long it takes you, okay? Ready, go.
Junto com a lista de pontos fortes, havia fraquezas significativas.
I forgot how to do one letter.
Were you forgetting how to make the letter, or were you forgetting which letter came next?
Forgetting how to write it, or how to write it.
So you knew what letter you wanted to write, and could you picture it in your mind?
Could picture it in my mind, but I just couldn't.
Couldn't remember the procedure for making that letter. So let me give you some others now and see how you do.
O Dr. Levine agora sabe de algo vital. Nathan conhece a letra K, mas dá muito trabalho escrevê-la. Crianças assim têm problema de exteriorização.
These are kids for whom work is too much work. Effort is too much effort. And they sit down to do something and you think they have to climb the Matterhorn. And these same kids tantalize everyone because their intake is so good. They're so good at understanding things. They're so good at analyzing. Often they're very creative. A lot of times they're a wellspring of phenomenal ideas. But to be productive, to get some output, to be efficient in your output, is sort of out of the question.
Nathan, you see all these designs here? It's as if within the mind of the child with a learning problem, there are 3 clocks. The clocks are set at different times and moving at different speeds. So the clocks are totally out of sync with each other, and the child is generally out of sync with his environment. But the law of averages will tell you, if you take 3 clocks, set them at different times and move them at different speeds, eventually, bingo, 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 there will come a time where the 3 of them are all telling the same time. And when the clocks are in sync, there's this incredible forward movement on the part of the child for a day or a week or a month, if you're lucky, this incredible forward movement and progress. And then the clocks get out of sync again.
A hora da verdade, chamada desmistificação.
You are like a wonderful car, like a Mercedes or a Jaguar, but it has a very small gas tank, so that when you try to think or do a lot of work, it runs out of fuel pretty easily.
Demystification, I think, may be the most important movement in this field in the last 10 years, and that is explaining to the child what the problem is. If you have a child with diabetes, one of the first things you do is explain to the child, this is what diabetes is, these are the foods you can eat, this is what's happening to your body when you don't eat the proper food, and explain line and verse. Yet when a child has a learning problem, we try to protect the child from it. I've had parents say to me, he doesn't know he has a learning problem. Indeed, he does. And sometimes a child takes great comfort in the diagnosis, in knowing I'm not the only person that has it. I'm not stupid like the kids tell me in the school bus. I'm not lazy like the teacher tells me every day. There's really a name for this.
The second problem you have is what we call a graphomotor problem. You don't have very good control over the very little muscles at the ends of your fingers. And you know what you do because of that? You try to get rid of them. You know how you get rid of them? By putting your thumb over these two fingers. And you bear down real hard. And you end up writing with your wrists, and that's too slow. And then you know what happens? You have to work so hard to form the letters that it's hard to do that and spell at the same time. And it's hard to do that and have good ideas at the same time. You're so good spatially with this
O Dr. Levine diz a Nathan que seus pontos fortes podem ajudar a superar as fraquezas. Por exemplo, sua capacidade de desenhar formas complicadas pode ajudá-lo a visualizar fatos, como datas históricas, que ele esqueceria de outra maneira.
Remembering dates is a lot of detail, but it won't be a lot of detail for you if you make a diagram of it and remember it as a visual pattern. I have evidence that you're very smart. You need to convince yourself of that, because when you can do your
It was probably the first time he's heard somebody since his second grade teacher tell him how great he was. Instead of ADD, you know, this huge thing, it was really specific, and it was something that seems manageable. So it's very encouraging.
Mas os pais acham que ele precisa de outra coisa: disciplina. Um ano mais tarde, os quadros da Academia Militar de Hargrave incluíam Nathan Suggs.
We get a lot of boys that are very smart and intelligent, have a lot of potential, but for whatever reason they come here because they do not think they can do it.
Cadet Suggs. Para os Suggs, manter o filho aqui é um grande sacrifício, mas eles creem que seja sua grande chance.
For this year, we cleaned out his college fund, and my parents also contributed. And so I don't know exactly what we would do for next year.
I love you. I love you. I've missed you so much.
He lives at Hargrave. And this fall has been very difficult for me, but I'm hoping that he will take in some of the discipline and make it his own.
I'm feeling happier. I have more self-discipline. I'll probably have more than I have now at the end of the year. And it'll probably be a whole lot easier.
You look so nice. I've seen Nathan's self-confidence grow in the last 4 or 5 months. And so I feel like, you know, even the mistakes that we've made, you know, have somehow turned toward building his character. And he's learned a lot.
I'd say just don't worry about what other people think. And if you feel bad about yourself, just try to make yourself feel important and do something. And be proud of it, no matter what.
Mas os pais de Nathan não vão depositar tanta esperança ainda. Eles sabem que rapazes como Nathan costumam começar bem em ambientes novos. Nos arredores de Boston, em um bairro conhecido como Hyde Park, muitas famílias lutam para sobreviver. Uma delas, os Dunning, cria 4 filhos aqui. Adam é o segundo deles.
He was just a good little kid, very well liked, always neighbors and teachers and CCD teachers and coaches would always tell me, what a well-mannered son you have.
A mãe percebeu cedo que Adam tinha um problema.
Adam and I would read together every night, and he couldn't identify words that he should have been familiar with. When he started second grade, I knew that there was a building block that was kind of beginning to crumble.
The school teachers kept saying, he's just lazy, you know, and his personality carried him through. Where Adam's a good kid, he's just, you know, we'll worry about him later.
Só na quinta série, os problemas de Adam na escola ficaram óbvios para seus professores. Ele passou por uma bateria de testes, mas a escola garantiu aos Dunning que seu filho estava dentro da média e se sairia muito bem.
I think the problem with the initial testing was that when you do an IQ test, you've got 12 subtests, and the half of them are language-based and half of them are not. So you end up getting scores that get added together, and that Adam's scores added together come up as average.
Mas Adam, lutando com a leitura mais básica, a escrita e os ditados, sentia que estava abaixo da média.
I felt embarrassed at sometimes, like when I couldn't pronounce words, and then other kids would pronounce a word for me. Say, hurry up, you don't know how to read. I get comments like that all the time.
Os pais começaram a se preocupar com Adam. Pediram mais testes da escola. No ensino médio, a escola tinha uma bomba para os Dunning.
They told us that Adam was reading on a third grade level, and he's in the 7th grade. So what happened to the 4th grade, the 5th grade, and the 6th grade? I mean, something's wrong.
At that point, I did think I was dumb, or stupid. Like, why can't I read? I mean, all my friends go to Latin, in Boston Latin, one of the best schools. Probably the best school in Massachusetts, like an exam school. They read fine. Why can't I read?
Adam passou da idade para os remédios de intervenção precoce e a solução da escola para ajudá-lo parecia melhor no papel do que na realidade.
They said Adam needs a small classroom setting, and where do they send him? It's like going into prison. He's down in the cellar in a little room about this size with 12 other kids.
Então, em vez de buscar formas para dar certo na escola, Adam passou a buscar formas de sair da escola.
I went to the school and went room to room to room to his teachers. Some of his teachers had never seen Adam. And this is 2 months into the school year, had never seen him. You take school out of that age, you take it away, you take it out of the picture. What else is there? There's marijuana, there's stealing cars. I mean, what else is there for a kid to do? So you run the streets. When you run the streets, you get in trouble, you make bad choices. Adam was he was mad. He can't read.
Os pais de Adam sabiam que era hora de ter ajuda profissional. No Boston Medical Center, a psicóloga Andrea Weiss testou Adam novamente.
What we're going to do first is I'm going to give you some reading lists. And what I'd like you to do is just read down the list out loud. And if you come to a word you don't know and
Os
you want to
testes
sound
da
it out,
doutora Weiss resultaram num tipo de mapa de quando Adam parou de aprender.
Bridge, neighbors, courage, inclusive.
Inclusive, okay. Let me just take that word for you and break it down into syllables and see if it helps. As he got up in grades and his reading vocabulary got larger, he was faced with all these multisyllabic words that he couldn't decode.
Cues.
It could be cues, but if this is qua.
Quiz.
Quiz, good.
Inquisitive.
Good. So can you put it together?
Inquisitive.
Excellent. Okay, go on.
Clever.
Success.
E os problemas de leitura de Adam afetaram a capacidade de soletrar e escrever também.
Good, that's pretty close. By the time he got to 9th grade, he was getting no special ed help, and he was really at a distinct disadvantage. He fell apart. He stopped going to class, he stopped doing his homework, because essentially it was way beyond what he could do. And when Jane said, oh, he needs help, people said, you know what? If you look at his profile, he's solidly average. There's nothing going on here. He's not trying, he's lazy. And they gave kind of behavioral descriptions to something that wasn't behavioral at all. To be told over and over again, you know, you're not quite cutting the mustard, it breaks down your self-esteem. And you have to go somewhere else to get your self-esteem built up. And kids get into trouble. And they go looking for things that are more exciting than being told every day that you're dumb. I think there's a huge payback for not providing kids with what they need.
Como os especialistas teriam previsto, Adam se voltou para as drogas e o álcool.
When I drink, it's just to forget about everything. If I'm really having a tough time, so I can't take this anymore, and I just have to go drink some beers to let it all just get away.
There's been a lot of evidence of drug use.
Continuously money being stolen, no matter where it was.
We're kind of guilty of not overlooking it and thinking, well, you know, so he needed some money. But when it gets into the thousands, you know, you've let it go too far. And it got there.
Então, certa noite, o telefonema que todo pai e toda mãe temem.
We get a phone call from the state police. I thought he's getting ready to tell us that somebody had been killed.
I thought about how do you plan a funeral for a kid who doesn't seem to want to be part of your family anymore. Doesn't want to be a kid.
Adam estava bem, mas muito encrencado. A polícia alegava que ele tinha batido com um carro roubado. Na manhã seguinte, Terry levou seu filho de 15 anos à ala psiquiátrica do Boston Medical Center e o internou.
I've had my son hospitalized to get him some attention. I mean, he could have been killed that night. And he was out that night because he skipped school that day, didn't want to come home. So he was out that night. I mean, how many more chances does he have?
Ele saiu da ala psiquiátrica, mas agora seus pais vêm a este tribunal. O filho está sendo julgado por invasão. O tribunal lhe indicou um advogado. Os pais ficaram sabendo que, se for condenado, o filho ficará sob custódia do Estado até a maioridade. A promotoria se apresenta.
I saw a glimpse of his face, and I saw the outline of his face, and I said, "Oh, that's Adam. Should he be in school and charged with the crime?"
O júri não demorou para dar o veredicto.
Is he guilty or not guilty?
We find the defendant guilty.
Ao se despedir do filho, Jane Dunning se contenta com uma nova e dura realidade.
Adam's birthday is 4 days from today. And I didn't expect to have to ask somebody else permission to bring him a birthday cake.
Dias depois é o aniversário de 16 anos de Adam, comemorado na cadeia. Mesmo sendo terrível visitá-lo lá, os pais terão uma surpresa.
I called last night.
When the sun sets, looks for the moon. O filho finalmente está em um ambiente educacional que combina com ele. As turmas são pequenas. A maioria desses jovens tem problema de aprendizagem. Por isso, os professores encontraram um meio de chegar até eles.
Mercury has a rock crust made of the same kind of rock found on Earth. Beneath the crust, it is thicker mantle layer of the same material.
You have to appeal to more of their senses in your teaching. If you should almost check a checklist. Okay, we got sound going on. All right, hearing. What am I doing on visual? Am I doing any artwork? What am I doing on touch? Am I getting their hands engaged? All of that, and I think that happens a lot in the elementary or lower grades. And we figure high school, they don't need to do that anymore. And I think we're very, very wrong.
É a primeira vez que Adam Dunning vê a escola de uma forma positiva.
Feel good about going to school. I mean, school here is fun. It's like the teachers care. They help you out, like regular school should be.
Agora, ele acredita que a cadeia lhe fez até bem.
Me being locked up was good for a learning experience for me, because I stayed up. If I didn't get locked up, I'd probably be dead or in a lot worse trouble. Probably wouldn't be at a treatment facility. I'd probably be back wearing an orange suit.
Adam diz que usou drogas e álcool durante anos para neutralizar a dor do fracasso escolar. Hoje está limpo e sóbrio, mas se preocupa com quanto tempo isso vai durar.
The only thing I'm really afraid of going back to school is how the kids around me, the pressures. They've seen me before, they know how I acted before. Never been to high school when I was clean. I mean, it wasn't 30 days where I wasn't using, so I think kids are gonna push my buttons. And that's the thing that scares me the most about going back to school, just the other kids.
Michael Young, Kenneth Smith,
Após 3 curtos meses, Adam volta para Boston High. Seu breve sucesso na sala da aula da cadeia é um duro contraste com o que vai enfrentar.
Asking a baby to read, and I said it was like trying to make gold out of straw, like Rumpelstiltskin. And Mom said it was like trying to make silk purse out of
Adam continua muito abaixo do nível da série e a doutora Weiss teme que não haja nenhuma forma de ajudá-lo.
When I went back to test him, he hadn't made any progress, but he shouldn't have. There was no way for him to make progress because he needs specialized instruction. He's not going to get it by osmosis. He's not going to stand in a room and it's going to, go through his pores. It's not going to happen. He needs somebody to say, look, this is the way to do it. This is the structure. This is the recipe. It works every time. And then he'll own it.
What's that called? Exactly. Food chain. Perfect.
Adam foi colocado em 2 classes especiais, mas os jovens daqui têm problemas piores que o dele. Ironicamente, Adam Dunning parece estar indo melhor do que realmente está.
An element in all organisms is carbon. Exactly.
He's really academically, he's probably at the top of my classes. I have the whole gamut. I have real low-level acting out kids. For the most part, we have acting out kids all together, but academically, he does very, very well when he wants to do it.
I don't know, some days I can go into school, sit down, not say a word, do everything, and everyone will say, wish we could have Adam like this all day without his hat on, without him talking, doing all his work, asking for more work. And other days, it's like, Adam comes in and starts goofing off.
O segundo grau real acabou sendo outra oportunidade perdida.
He's a fragile guy right now. I want him to be successful. But when you don't give a student what they need, the potential for really falling apart and giving up is so high that you really have to factor that in. It's a possibility.
Um ano depois, a escola expulsou Adam por mau comportamento. Mais uma vez à deriva, Adam teve diversos subempregos e sua mãe teme que tenha voltado para as drogas e o álcool.
I was a little kid, I dreamed going to college, going to school, but I haven't finished high school, so I can't go to college. Now I have no high school diploma, and I just work full time. It's like, what else do I have? Nothing.
I see kids every single day that are like Adam. And sometimes I can get to them, and sometimes I can help them, and sometimes they slip by. But there's no reason that Adam needed to slip by. We had Adam. We had a hold on Adam.
Adam precisava da coisa mais difícil de se obter, o diagnóstico precoce dos problemas e um plano consistente para tratá-los.
In some states, the size of prisons are predicted on the basis of third grade and fourth grade literacy rates. So it does portend an alienation from society in a sense. And it's for those reasons, these downstream consequences of loss of self-esteem, poor academic development, limited vocabulary and other cognitive developments, difficulties with social relations, difficulties getting and holding jobs and getting in trouble with the law, that we consider reading problems to not only to be an educational issue, but a public health issue and a public health concern as well.
Resta aos pais de Adam o que tinham no início, e apenas isso. Eles ainda têm esperança.
You change your dreams, you adjust, and you settle from, I'd like him to graduate from college to, I hope he graduates from high school. And then you change from I hope he graduates from high school, that I hope he makes it.
You've seen kids that are in jail one day and the next year they're in college and doing great. So he still has a shot at it. I'm not saying it's all over for him. You can't give up hope. That's about all you do have is hope.
There really are so many different ways to solve this problem called life. I mean, there really are. And if you look at successful people, 9 times out of 10, they will tell you of stories of tremendous struggle. If you've got a different kind of brain, and I submit the most interesting people do, that's great. And as you're remediating all this stuff and learning how to be on time and all this stuff that you got to learn how to do, never lose sight of those strengths, those talents, because that is what is going to take you to great places.